It's Lowell's with Pete and Bric. Today, we are going to circle back to that wild story involving the ex-Jags employee who was a high-volume gambler on FanDuel. We have a new plot twist there. We'll also check in on some of the Battle Royale stuff we've been talking about, throughout the year here, and maybe some stuff about sports betting and legislation that is currently being discussed on the online water cooler. I'm Pete. This is Lowell's with Bric. Let's do it.
Does he think? I think he thinks this. He thinks this is a go. Vegas Dave thinks this is a go.
Hot naked girls doing yoga.
What?
Why don't you just win like a man?
Random.org. Type in 1 for yes, 2 for no, and let the DFS cats pick for you.
And I'm absolutely begging you not to dupe us. Please don't dupe us.
All right. Bric, how are we doing these days, buddy?
Good. I went in a bucket of balls. It's beautiful out. Can't complain.
I didn't know if you were going to say bucket of beers or bucket of balls. There's two good ways to go there.
Bucket of beers before noon.
Yeah, man. Do you know it's just like one of the most depressing things? I'm not like a massive golfer. Pre-kid, I would play, I don't know, 9 to 10 times like a summer or something.
Okay. Yeah.
Decent, whatever, once every couple of weeks. Didn't go out once this summer. It just never broke. It was like very few free weekends. And then when I did have them, it was not spent on 4 hours out on the course. But I should at least do that. Just, head over to the driving range, scratch that itch.
Yeah. You can always fit that in when you have a free hour. I do it like in lieu of going to the gym because that like makes me feel a little bit better about myself, like.
Yeah. The how often do you get out?
Probably a little more than you, I would guess, like 12, 15, 20 times.
Yeah.
It depends. Cause I used to golf with my dad, but since I moved out of the city, it's a little too far to go down with he golfs with his buddies. So golf a little bit less. I would have golfed today, actually. Do
you have a place by your lake house that's solid?
There's a ton of golfing here. Yeah, nice. There's a ton of golfing here. I think the first golf course in America was in Illinois.
Wow, fun fact.
That's right.
Wait, the first golf course in America was not on the East Coast.
Yeah, no, it was like a 9-hole in just like northwest suburbs. I can't remember the name of it.
Wow. Did they really play that up like when you pull in like the first golf course in America?
Yeah, and I don't think it's that great anymore.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. But yeah, that is, and we also have the busiest golf course in America.
Which one's that?
Which is Sidney Moravitz, which is a 9-hole on the lake, on like right in smack dab in like Lincoln Park, Chicago on the lake. So like you'll play a 6 hour 9-hole. I'm not even joking.
Oh my God,
it's crazy.
Because they just like, does the starter just not pace people
whatsoever? There's no starter. Yeah, there's no pacing. There's no starter. It's just you're 4 deep at every hole.
Oh wow!
You gotta get out there 6 in the morning.
You need to be 4 deep on your beers every hole.
They sell beer. They sell beer, so it's still fun.
I imagine have you ever seen those like stories where there'll be like a massive traffic jam somewhere in China, and there's like these sub economies that pop up, and there's like all these vendors and people because like no one could go anywhere. I feel like that's what they need at that golf course. You just need. Beer things. You gotta maybe someone does a play at the 8th hole,
They do a Shakespeare play not too far from there too. I bet they'd love it. They'd probably be getting bonked in the head though, because it's pretty recreational. The golfers who go there. I don't remember seeing a golf cart girl either, but she would make a mint on that course. Maybe I haven't played there in a while. Like 6 hours, 9 holes is just too much because there's nothing that close to like where everyone lives.
Yeah.
So like it's the only course you can go to. Like you'd have to go to the south side, Harbor Shores, which is a nice course. No one wants to go to the south side. And it's still like 45 minutes probably with traffic and shit.
That's the other thing that makes it hard. At my old house when I was closer to the city, there was a bunch of I was like in the suburbs, but just outside, and there was a decent amount of courses near me. And now where I'm at, there's just like nothing close. Although ironically, there's a really nice country club not far from me. But I'm going to have to win the Millie Maker to justify becoming a member there and only playing a few times a year.
Wouldn't that? I mean, isn't that what CSU does, man?
Yeah.
That must be nice. There's a nice one around here too. It's like I haven't even looked at the price, but they weren't cheap. You know, the 5-10 years ago last time I looked, and I bet they're probably double now.
Yeah. So, and they hit you. You know, they get you you get the initiation fee or whatever, which is like pretty wild. And then they have minimums on how much you have to spend in food and all of that. And it's just like, you really have to have some pretty good disposable income to justify it.
It's like the ultimate elite barrier to entry. You know, like they don't want us there. It's not really about the extra $2,000 for food or anything like. They just don't want you there. You know what I mean? So it's like we're just gonna raise the like. God, did you see who joined? We're gonna have to raise the prices again. Yeah.
I guess we'll just stick to our 6 hours of 9 holes there in the heart of Chicago.
Yeah, that course I said it's called City Moravitz, and I know a politician here, and he was telling me that guy was kind of just some old political insider, and he just kind of like bought the naming rights, like kind of bought his way in and like pressured people to get the course named after him, because like a lot of the courses around here are named after like old frontier Illinoisans and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and there's awesome history. And you never question like why a course is named what it is, you know, but it's just some political bullshit. It's like typical Chicago. Perfect Chicago course.
Big Dan says he used to caddy for CSU at Cherry Creek Country Club. Let us know, Big Dan, was CSU a good tipper? I used to, so in Colorado, I grew up caddying at Lakewood Country Club, and it was a solid job. It was like when I first started, they gave me the shitty loops and the shitty guys. Like it'd be a member guest thing, and I'd get the guest, and the guest wouldn't even know that he was like supposed to tip or whatever. But then as you like move up the ranks, and then you get like the plush gigs, and you actually start to get tipped well. And I got to golf for free on Tuesdays, like nice course, being a high school kid, just like hacking away at this nice course. Yeah. was a pretty fun time.
There's where I grew up, there's a lot of courses. So like Jordan had a membership at the course across the street from me, and
oh nice.
And Cog Hill's really close to me, which is where the PGA used to play. Tiger won there like 5 times. So like all my buddies, my brother worked there, and allegedly we might have gotten some beer from those locations quite frequently.
I bet.
Yeah, a lot of shenanigans going on at golf courses. I bet these days though it's probably more locked down. Probably could get busted a lot easier.
Yeah,
sucks for these youngsters.
I know they don't know the kind of fun we used to have here.
Yeah.
It is also like the even on the public courses, like the range of vibes. You know, there's like some that like to kind of cosplay that they're like a quasi country club, but then there's the ones probably like the one you were talking about in Chicago, where it's like you'll get the guys who bring like their speaker for the golf cart and are like blasting music while you're like, okay, that's the vibe of this course. Okay.
Yes, that happens a lot at public courses. I mean, I know I play with people who do that. It's so annoying. I mean, like after at least one of my buddies, he'll turn it down when we get near another group. So like at least he's considerate like that. You know?
Yeah, that it always crack like anything involving a speaker in public is like wild to me. Like you'll sometimes hear like on the subway or whatever, and people just like blasting a podcast on their phone with no headphones. It's like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah, it's so rude. Have you ever seen any of those videos of like Americans abroad? You know, like they'll be on a Japanese train and talking on their phone and stuff. Like it's just completely unacceptable there, and they'll you know, like a lot of people either staring or talking to them or people coming by. Yeah, it's not acceptable in some other cultures.
Well, Brian, I put on the title here. You know, we have to revisit this this story because we covered this when it was breaking, and now we have an update here. I pulled it up on the screen here for those of you watching. But ex-Jags employee Amit Patel is now suing FanDuel for $250 million. And like my first thing about this story was like, I feel like it's just this thing where now between FanDuel, the Jags, and a meet, like everyone is just pointing in a different direction at like who's to blame here. And now we have a meet who's firing back. And he is saying his claim is that the sportsbook exploited his gambling addiction and intentionally ignored its responsible gaming and anti-money laundering protocols here, which is a pretty wild claim, right? You're saying you allowed me to do really bad things and therefore you owe me a lot of money for that.
I think it's kind of genius. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, it's very smart. Like it's absurd, but like if you're going to play within this sandbox, might as well.
Yeah. I'm guessing it's his attorney who came up with this plan. I mean, he is a gamer. Like he thinks strategically. He must. Not a great one, obviously, because otherwise he'd have a lot more money. But and it could be him too. But yeah, this is just a great play. If you were on the jury, you're on this jury. You're on the criminal side. You're not in this case. You're in his criminal case.
Yeah,
and they're clearly going to play this card. And maybe even introduce that this case exists if the judge will let them, right? You know, and you're on the jury, regardless of judge instructions, right? Forget about that stuff. Like, would you go? If you could take your bias that you know about so much about this guy.
Yes, I know what you're saying.
It's so hard to do this, but yeah, like you take your bias out. You're on this case. Would this sway you? Could this possibly sway you?
I think, and it is like really, first of all, he would need to come across as very sympathetic, right? Like he would have to do a little bit of a sell job himself. I still think my bullshit meter would be like, are you kidding, man? This is a lot of money to gamble over and over and over again. And it's like, you're basically asking for like a get out of jail free card in the literal sense here on two different fronts. Like one, embezzling money from your own company and then gambling it in accession at another place. I just think I'd be like, I get why you're doing this. I would throw up that Hail Mary if I was in your shoes, but there's no way this passes the sniff test for a juror. I don't think. I think you're right, because I'd assume the state's attorney or whoever's prosecuting the case would go, the plaintiff, whatever it's called. He spent like millions of dollars on a home, on parties, on planes, and all this stuff. Right. Which, if you're addicted to gambling, wouldn't you then therefore, instead of get the lavish stuff, you would be gambling that? Yes. And it's also like you said, yeah, the optics of that, if we found out that he was just siphoning off all of this money and was like sending it to all of his family and friends, or had some kind of Robin Hood-esque quality, like, I don't know, there's so many other ways this would be nice, but the fact he's asking for $250 million. Yeah. And also, if you're a juror, are you like, is it the best idea to give this guy a shit ton of money again? Does he have a track record of using this in a good way? These are two separate cases, though, right? So, like the jury on the criminal case of whether how long he's going to go to jail, and then this is a civil case on money that he might get from FanDuel. I imagine though, like they might just pay his legal fees, though. He might make out here where he gets convicted. This is, I think, the best outcome for him. He gets convicted, but then the judge says, if you do this gambling anonymous stuff for years while you're in jail, I'll cut your sentence in half or something. Yeah. That, I think, is the top, like the best 1% outcome. Which if he would have had more top 1% outcomes, he wouldn't be in this mess, Pete. And then FanDuel just goes like, here's $500,000 to just go shut the hell up. And then he uses that money to pay for his lawyers. Yeah, which is like, it's a good negotiation tactic, right? You ask for the world, and then they'll give you a sliver, and you're like, that's probably more than I should have gotten in the first place, so I'll take it. If he can pull all that off, what's he looking at? He's still probably looking at 4 or 5 years. Yeah, we looked this up the first time we did. I can't remember. I think it was pretty high. Yeah, Yeah. The other thing here, so part of this, it says the suit alleges that Patel's VIP host at FanDuel, Brett Krause, communicated with Patel as many as 100 times a day. That can't
be right.
100 times a day. There is no one who communicates with anyone other than maybe like 17-year-olds who just fell in love. Like those are the only people that talk to each other 100 times a day over text message. Like what are we 100 times a day?
I mean, unless he's like one of those texters who sends before the sentence is over. Do you ever get this? Like, hey, send, Pete, send. I want to know, send what you're doing, send today, send. You get like 20 notices, don't you? Can't I know someone who does that. It just drives me crazy. Maybe something like that where he does 20 sends for every like one sentence.
Right.
But that's insane.
It's insane. And also, again, this goes to how like a jury would process this information, right? Because we know if you are a high volume whale on a site, your rep is going to be in constant communication with you, right? Like, I mean, Brian, even like when you were doing like DFS, right? They will say like, hey, we have this offer for you. Would you like, that's not crazy if you get a lot of volume down somewhere.
Yeah. But I mean, once at my peak or whatever of communication, once a week.
Right. And this is clearly from him is he is trying to say I was being pestered into gambling. Like, and he uses a number here where I would love to see the records. Like there's no way that there was a single day where they communicated back and forth 100 times over text message. That there's no way that's possible.
You know what? Another thing I don't like about this article is this Brett Krause guy, and I guess we're amplifying it. You could just say the VIP host. You don't need to get this 20 whatever this guy's first job out of college probably.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe
that's
he's
true.
older than that, but like you don't need to put his name on here.
Yeah.
Is he part of, like, is he being sued? Is he part of the criminal case?
Yeah,
anything like that? Like they mention the guy's name like friggin' 20 times. I hate when these journalists do that type of shit.
Well, yeah, I mean, and granted, this is this happens to be the same journalist who doxed my age, so not surprising behavior here from David Purdom there for doxing our FanDuel employee.
Oh,
but but it's also too like the whole idea of like, and to your point, like that guy is just doing his job. You have a whale, hey, you keep him engaged. Hey, here's an offer here. Would you like to do this? Literally doing his job. And then this is going to get spin zoned as he was pressuring me into gambling. It's like, buddy, apparently you were sitting in 3-stake high bands DFS contests or high stakes 3-bands with people you had no business playing against. I don't think you needed any urging to go gamble.
And probably entering contests from his private golf membership and his Maserati at his brand new house and all this stuff. Another thing with this Brett Krause guy is like, if he doesn't have a public, like, what's it called? Footprint, like he doesn't do content and stuff like that. This is going to be the thing that comes up now for fucking eternity for him, is him being involved with this criminal. Yeah.
Kyle, isn't he already convicted?
Good question.
Here it is down here. Right, serving a 6.5-year sentence.
Oh, can you click that link? Cause that's funny. I was asking ChatGPT while you were talking what their, what it would be, roughly 20 million with wire fraud. And they said 10 to 20 years, depending on criminal history. So I said no criminal history. I assume he has no criminal history. And they guessed 8 to 15 years, but can be lower with cooperation, remorse, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So if you add in the gambling thing and cooperation, 6.5 years, that's about right.
Yeah. Judge also ordered Patel to pay the Jags $21.1 million in restitution. And so then he's like, maybe I could get FanDuel to give that to me, and then I could give that to them.
To the Jags. I mean, who can they sign for $21 million?
It's also like, listen to his, statement. He said, I stand before you embarrassed, shamed, and disappointed by my actions. I can never truly convey how sorry I am to everyone affected by my actions. Does this sound like someone who was swindled by a VIP host?
Yeah, it's tough because I guarantee also the lawyer wrote
sure.
that for him, and yeah, you want to take complete blame when when you're getting sentenced, I'm sure is part of it. Yeah, I wonder if that'll get brought up in the criminal case.
Yeah.
Could you go back up really quick? I had something on the second sentence I saw. Gambler, he has to, like I said, he's going to have to attend Gamblers Anonymous.
Yes.
And of course, that's going to be years in there. So yeah, that play knocked off 2 to 4 years probably, which is amazing, awesome for him.
Yes. So here was the full for people who missed it initially. So he admitted to stealing over $22 million from the Jags over 3.5 years as the overseer of the team's virtual credit card program. According to documents, Patel transferred approximately $20 million to FanDuel. Yeah, I guess the VIP host would be pretty incentivized to keep chatting you up. And $1 million to DraftKings. DraftKings down bad, only got one of that 21 million, and used the rest of the stolen money on various other expenditures, including nearly $600,000 at Apple and more than $40,000 at Amazon and Best Buy. This is my favorite down here, though. Prosecutors said he used it on a variety of purchases to live a life of luxury, including purchasing Tiger Woods' 1996 putter and spending $78,800 on private jet charters.
I mean, every gambling addict has a Tiger Woods 96, it's 96 era putter. They just can't help it.
That's also where you realize, this dude had so much money, he couldn't even gamble it all away, that he was like, fuck it, man, I'll just buy this putter. That'd be a cool thing to have, I guess.
They also, the way they framed this, FanDuel got 20 million. How much did FanDuel get probably in rake? Half of that's paid by the other guy too, he's playing against.
Yes. Yeah.
So FanDuel probably got a couple million.
Oh yeah.
Not 20 million. I'm assuming this is federal. I said state before, and so you have to serve 85% of your time. So
okay.
he's got like five plus solid years. So he'll be 36-ish.
Still fairly young.
Not bad. Not bad. Could be worse.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like he had the time of his life, though.
Yeah, I don't know. 5 years in federal pound me in the ass prison is not worth Tiger Woods 96 putter. Call me crazy, Pete.
Yeah, it is. It's funny. I'm trying to find the full version of this picture where it's him smiling on this. On this, oh, here it is. That's a guy who's on the private jet. He's wearing the Jags hoodie too, which is so good.
He needs a face tattoo bad, like yesterday. Face tattoo. Got to shave that head. Damn, there's probably not many Indian gangs in prison either. Who does he join? Who does he join with?
I don't know, but I assume he will find a way to gamble in some way.
He's got to pay 22 million back, Pete. I mean,
how else?
Got to let it ride.
Yeah, there's going to be some dice games in his future. Yeah, crazy stuff. I forget who was it, right? When that first article came out, they had interviewed a bunch of DFS players that had played against him in some of those high stakes 3-mans.
Some dude I don't remember the name, but I don't think I was friendly with the person, whoever it was. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name because it was probably more cash gamey.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, all those guys, I'm sure, please don't mention us in any of these articles. Please.
I do somewhat respect that he was playing DFS because it's just it requires this guy, with his role, could have just gone on to any game and been $20,000 money line, $10,000 single game parlay, whatever, just clicking buttons. It actually takes even if you do no research, you still have to click, 9 spots in a lineup or whatever. I gotta have some respect for this dude trying to play DFS to punt it off instead of just gambling.
I mean, we don't know the details of the case for sure, but if it's just DFS, so if you're a nobody, not a nobody, if you're not in this world, you could be fooled. But I think being in this world, that is so weird. You were just saying that he's not betting 20 large on a money line on Sunday, 2 minutes before kickoff. But he could be. It's way more likely a gambling addiction would be at slot machines or something more addictive than just DFS. If all he was playing was DFS, it's super weird. Like, like if I actually was on the jury, I'd be like, yeah, that's not changing my opinion.
That's a good point too. That a lot of the stuff, the sports betting wasn't even legal in Florida at the time when he was doing all that. So that was his like one avenue.
Yeah, but he spent $79,000 on plane rides all over the world, so he could probably have gambled.
So maybe that's what the charters were for just driving across state lines to Reg.
Yeah, come on. That's funny. Yahoo couldn't have gotten sued because they don't allow DFS in Florida. I don't know if they've changed that, but they lucked out on that one. I mean, I do still feel bad for him somehow, but man,
how do you feel bad for him?
Because I think just because the prison system's fucked up, like this dude doesn't need to be, go into an environment like that. Like clearly he needs to pay for this crime somehow. I don't know the answer, but going in with like hardened criminals at a federal prison, it just seems cruel and unusual.
How about this? His sentence is he has to caddy 60 hours a week at a 9-hole course in Chicago.
Sidney Moravitz, he has to be the starter at Sidney Moravitz.
Yeah. We did get our weekly Yahoo mention on here. How did your week 4 DFS go?
Not bad. I mean, I won a little money, but you don't take first, you don't get paid. So I got 58th in the millie
on DraftKings.
Yeah. FanDuel, I was up there for the first hour or two.
Yeah.
And then I look back at the end, it's like 320. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever.
What was your team that finished 58th? Was it like a Fields?
Fields, yeah. I had a good Mayfield one going too, but I think my highest one was Fields, Mason, Pickens.
Yeah.
Was the stack. Who's the other studs who did good?
The other stud stack was the Jordan Love and Jaden Reed.
No. I think I might have had Jaden Reed in that lineup too. I can't remember. I had all like most of the good guys, but I mean, you need like the Falcons do. So like I got lucky there too. But yeah, you need who was I think my other running was Barkley. I think I had like another RB that
he was disappointing.
Disappointed. Yeah. Everything else was like the nuts or close to it.
That same dynamic kind of happened in the Battle Royales because it was like 101 was Barkley and 102 was Breece Hall, and both those guys flopped. And so if you were drafting off ADP, like the 101 and 102s were like dead for finishing like top 10 in any contest because they just had too low of scores to compete with. Nico Collins was the guy you had to have basically in round 1 to compete.
I saw you crushing there. I saw the Mason run out because I kind of stopped watching. On Sunday, usually the second half of games, my attention span doesn't last that long these days. But I know you needed Mason to do well from your tweet, and I looked. I'm like, oh, he got another like 50 yards since the last time I looked. I wonder how he's doing. Close.
It was like it was a very in a weird way. It was like a satisfying sweat because I was just climbing. And it was like last year when I had the 2 teams that finished in the top 10 in the same week, one of those teams was in first, so the other was in third. And it was like going into the final quarter and I was just trying to hold. And then these CeeDee Lamb teams were charging. And that feeling. It's just agonizing to watch it like slip away, where I was looking at the pay jumps and where I was, and it was like fractions of a point. And I was saying to Lauren, because we were eating dinner, I was like, so every Jordan Mason carry right now is about $1,000 swing. Just like moving me up. And again, like it wasn't like he ripped off anything big, but it was like a 6-yard carry. I'm like, all right, that was $1,500. And then it's like, here's another one. Okay. Oh, that was another $1,500. So it was actually a pretty satisfying sweat, even though I was blocked for first to have 2 teams.
But like nothing bad could really happen. Only good things, that type of.
Yeah.
That's nice. Are you I mean, we talked about this. I have two things, but like one, we talked about this on Davis's podcast, and I was like saying if he was playing DFS, like actually, like because Davis was like, man, you gotta take first. I'm like, shit, the payout is pretty decent actually. I mean, like you got like 10 grand, close to it,
just short. Yeah.
I mean, that's on a 30K first place. That's like really good. And I was like, in DFS, he probably would have gotten like a grand back, maybe.
Yeah.
Actually, while you were talking, I brought up the flea flicker for this weekend, which is pretty comparable. So there's 60,000 entries almost, which is
very
pretty
similar.
close. 50K to first.
Okay.
So you took what, 5th and
7th?
Okay, so it's actually not as bad as I thought. How many you want to guess?
Sorry, and how much is the buy-in of the flea flicker?
$5, same.
Oh, okay, same thing. Let's say I'm gonna guess 5th is, and you said first was 50K?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll say 5th is 3K and 7th is 1K.
4K and 2,500.
Okay, so not that
much. So you would have gotten 7,500 plus your whatever, so like $500 from your remaining guys. So 8K, it's not that much different.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, after looking, I just assumed it would have been way less.
Because mine
I
was
think I'd rather have the 50K to first.
The 50K to first.
Than the 30K structure.
It would be really nice to be able to get that up to 50K.
I think they pull it from I'll check this right now, but I think they pull it from the lower entry. So it pays out 1,300 13,000 entries and underdog. We should know this, Pete, actually. So it's kind of good. We're looking
on screen to look at the,
if you want to bring up underdog.
Line. Yeah.
So they pay out what on underdog? So they pay out 14,000. Yeah. So they pay out an extra 1,000 people double. So they pay out on DraftKings, it's only 750.
Yeah.
To the top 13,000.
Yeah.
And there's 8,000 more entries in this. So they're letting, that's why you see like Davis has been getting back like 600 of his 750 or whatever. Is
because the min cash is good.
That's why. And so that's the big discrepancy. So the getting lucky or whatever is about the same. It's pretty close as we just looked. The flea flicker, I think, is a little flatter, I think, than definitely than like the Millie.
Yeah.
But I also wouldn't really recommend playing the flea flicker on DFS for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of pros in there because it's just an easy 150 for them.
Yeah.
But I think the actual difference isn't really the top; it's the bottom of the payout structure.
And I'm always torn on it. Like from my side and how I play, I'm completely with you. I would rather have it more top heavy. I do get the idea of it being good for the overall ecosystem for people to not just take zeros every week. Like I'm the same person in the Millie Maker on DraftKings. Like I never even play that. Like I barely even, I almost always forget to even toss my tournament teams in there because I'm just like, I'm just going to lose. So I get for like the ecosystem and people's morale, like more of a mid cash makes people want to go back each week more.
Well, and they stay around and they'll play more. You know, if you get 600 back of your 750, you're going to play again next week. Well,
And not to mention that, like, if you are doing that kind of volume, it means you're probably reaching at least like the 20% rake back tier as well.
Yeah.
So you're getting a little stimmy back there. It gets you closer to break even. And that's how even my other weeks, like the only thing I've been hemorrhaging money on is when I do the dog bowl, which is the live final qualifier. And that's where like your ROI, it's like you win it or you take a bath. But yeah, like I think if you're a solid player right now and you're not chasing the queue, I do think it's a pretty good like floor ceiling combo, even if the ceiling isn't as high as what you're describing.
Yeah. I mean, I like it actually. I think we're also, I think, comparing the closest one to draft. I think a lot of DraftKings ones are way more top heavy than that.
Yeah.
The lower buy end. But yeah, I don't know.
Well,
no. I think I like the I think I like the Battle Royale. Now I think I'm flipping.
I like this Wildcat one too. This is the $3, and it's about half the entrance, 37,000. This one gets 10,000 to first. And tell me if I'm wrong doing the math here, but it looks like the cutoff, the min cash is a little bit more. It's just top 4,000, 1,000 to 4,000. There isn't that a little smaller?
Yeah, 14,000 on a 67. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then you're able on a $3 contest to get a 10K top prize there.
Yeah. But I mean, that's a pretty small top prize, right? No, it's still the same thing, 10%, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder because you could either take it out of the bottom or the middle or the top, right? So
Yeah.
the millie like takes it out of all of them.
Yeah.
It's basically winner take all.
Yeah. It's interesting too, because it's unfortunate. It's almost like I wish there were like maybe you make the Battle Royale the slightly more top heavy, and then maybe you make like the Wildcat more of the like min cash friendly haven, right? Like where you almost have the top heavy big tournament and like the, I don't know what you would call it, the min cash friendly big tournament. But because to me, like if I were trying to return the highest ROI on Underdog, like I still probably wouldn't be playing the Battle Royale. I would be doing like this hurry up 20 entry, $3 max, only 3,000 entrance here, 10K prize pool. These are like these smaller contests is probably where I would devote my time.
It looks like they're pretty standardized on their payout structure.
With the 10%.
With the 10%, yeah.
Yeah. But even I'm just saying, like, if I'm hunting a min cash, I'd rather do it in a contest with 3,700 people than one with 65,000.
Right. I'm surprised they don't do 100K to first. Just get 100K to first every week. Just, whatever it takes. Eat some, eat it. They'll probably eat it some weeks, right? But if they start doing 100K to first, I think that matters. I think that matters in like this kind of world of gambler.
I wonder how much the Dog Bowl kind of competes with that, right? Because your biggest subset of potential 150 maxers, like a good chunk of them are all firing at this Dog Bowl qualifier. And it's like a significant amount of money, right? This is like the same as BBM to max. And there are guys who are getting in 100 plus entries at $25 a pop, obviously $37.50 to max that. Like my guess would be if you didn't have the Dog Bowl, which I love, I don't think it should go away, but I'm just saying, I bet you could get way more 150 maxers in the Battle Royale and then kind of justify a bigger prize and fill it more reliably.
And also like the other ones you were talking about entering, they pop those little ones up. They take liquidity for sure. Same shit with DFS is when they try to mess. So like they put the $3 mini max on, like last year on most sports. So it's a 150 entry, $3 per entry, where previously that was for the 20 max, the $3 or $4 range.
Yeah.
And what happened was then they just started taking the 20 max away. And so it's like, oh, well now, so like it just goes somewhere else. Like, cause you want like, you're like, oh, why not you have $150 $3 and a 20 max $3? And it's like, eventually they just put the liquidity all into one. And of course they'd rather have the 150 max out.
Yeah. Yeah. Crutches says the way to do it would be to get rid of the Wildcat and 25% to first off of the 400K prize pool, but wouldn't happen. Yeah. I do wonder, it's like the $3 price point is nice. And it does fill, at a slightly faster clip than the BR, but it's like, is the $3 and $5 price point big enough to justify essentially kind of splitting these in two, as opposed to just combining this to a $400,000 prize pool?
I would combine it. I'd make the Battle Royale $6 or something,
Yeah, go up just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Go 20% to first, make the Wildcat like a 10 max. What is it? 20, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And just lower that. Just lower all the other ones a little bit. and then just eat it.
Just eat it. Yeah.
Just eat it. If you don't hit it, just eat it for a week or two.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was expecting this to be a little bit more popular this year. It is more popular. It's definitely more popular because they went down last year pretty quick in prize pool for the BR.
As the season progressed, it really started to go down.
Going down
because I remember being tilted because the week I won had 2 teams in the top 10 was week 9.
Mm-hmm.
And it was week 8 to week 9 was one of the bigger kind of chops in the prize pool. And I think the week before I would have won like 10 grand more with my finishes based on like how the prize pool had gone down. So that was week 8 to week 9 last year was a big drop off.
And yeah, that's always, of course, the way it'll work, right? When the Millie Maker goes down to 400Ks, then you win it. Yeah, then you win it. I mean, I'd take it. Don't get me wrong, but but long story short, it is doing better. But I thought it might go off this year.
Yeah.
And if they do, like just say money didn't matter. If they started doing $1 million each week, $1 million to first each week, it would definitely pick up big time.
For sure. Yeah. It is, and I agree with you, right? Like the amount of content, the amount of people talking about it. And again, I'm very much within this bubble, so it seems bigger to me, but objectively, I'm like, I could point to like 5 or 6 different places making content this year around BRs that weren't making content around it last year.
Yeah. Although like our show doesn't get a ton of views for Davis, but it's not too bad. I think actually this is a side note. Do you think streaming on 2 different channels screws it up?
Yeah. I mean, I mean, I wouldn't say it screws it.
What I mean? Just like maybe the algorithm's not going to pump either of them out that much.
Yeah. I don't know. I've been splitting with the show I do with the Badge Bros on, Fridays, and we've been simulcasting it. And they've both been doing like equally well. I think obviously you'd get I guess this is my take. Obviously there's some cannibalization there from like the core people that would watch it regardless in one spot or the other. But I do think you're getting a little bit of the just general algo boost in 2 different directions, where like the whole way the algorithm's working is it's like, oh, your audience generally likes these things, we'll pop it or send it out to a similar demographic of audience. So you're kind of getting that like signal boost in maybe 2 slightly different directions, and probably capturing some people who wouldn't have gotten it in their feeds regardless, that weren't aware of you. So I think it like probably all comes out as a wash. At least that's how I'm thinking about it right now.
What about $6? Let's do the math here. $6, 70,000 entries.
Okay.
What is that? That gives us 420. Oh, 420. Shit. You got to do that.
Chill.
420, bros. Okay. And then, so we need about 25% of that
to get to
100K.
Yeah.
But yeah, 6 times 70K is 420.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's definitely has to happen now.
That would be very fun, man. Yeah. 100K top prize. It would be a fun thing for them to try, even if they don't want to commit to it. And maybe you even like plan for it, like a little bit of hype in advance. Like, hey, if people want to allocate bankroll or think about it, it's like, maybe it would be the week of the dog or bowl, or right after the dog bowl too, where all of that has kind of settled. Like, be like, all right, a week. I don't know, some kind of marketing blitz for 100K BR week would be tight.
Yeah. Yeah. Do it one more. They got to do it soon, right? If it drops off in week 8 or 9.
And do you know what would be another like cool way? Like if you were to do a marketing blitz on it, the way that they do these boosts and stuff, like what if everybody got a 50% off BR boost in their lobby? So it's like everyone gets 1 entry. That's $3. Just get them to taste it. Have them go do 1 draft. If they haven't checked it out, you're going to get a $6 entry for $3, and it's 100K up top that week. Just like get everyone who's on the site now doing pick'ems and everything to go sample what a BR draft is like.
Yeah. 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 They're probably going to eat it a little bit with the giveaways, or because last week it was like almost perfect because I was firing a few off right as I was like letting my stuff run, and it locked I think like 20 minutes early, right around there. I couldn't get any more entries in.
Yeah.
So they had it down pretty damn good.
Were you autoing or were you clicking buttons?
No, I was trying to pay attention and just if I had, because the caddy does recommendations with the correlations and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'd do that, but then I'd look at the ownership and see if I could find anything a little bit lower.
If you guys missed it last week, so the caddy now has ownership projection. So I'm just have the rankings tab up right now, and you can see that I have the spread in. So Jordan Mason, 7.5 point home favorites here versus the Cardinals. That total I have in blue, 49.5, and then the ownership percentage. So obviously Jordan Mason, the 101 this week, 100% drafted. As we move down, you'll see that number start to go down, obviously, as these guys aren't drafted quite as much. So you can see a guy like Davis's personal favorite, Dontavian Wicks. His ADP is up to 29.6. The caddy is projecting him at 62% ownership. Just a very valuable thing when you're going through drafts. As a way, like, it's like having done a bunch of these, like I kind of know who's going drafted, who's not. But sometimes it's like a really powerful thing if you're debating between two players and you're like, both these make sense. And it's like, well, one of these is projected for 40% less ownership.
Yeah, it's helpful. It's tough if you go like to a specific position, you also can, it makes it pretty obvious where the tiers are. You know, like do tight end, for example. Let's just look at tight end. So this is a good one for this week. Four players in the first tier, basically.
Yep. And it's a big gap. Like, I mean, like Tucker Kraft, like good play, whatever, but like going from Brock Bowers to Tucker Kraft, and it makes sense that it's going from 90% to 45% here.
Who's projected more, Ingram or Cole Kmet? Like,
so Ingram will project for more than Cole Kmet, but he has the Q tag right now and hasn't played the past couple of weeks, so his ownership is lower.
Got it. But yeah, that's a perfect example. So yeah, I would say Bowers and Tucker Kraft, I think might be a little high owned for my taste, but this is the exact range. The thing that's interesting is, Njoku, Ingram, I guess they're both trending to play, but traditionally, and I say traditionally because the tight end position has been so bad. Traditionally, like these top 3 to 4 guys do project way better, and tight end 5, 6, 7, 8 don't project that much differently than tight end 9, 10, 11, 12. So just historically, this has been a trap zone, but this year, every tight end pick has been a trap zone. So do with that what you will. Did you have Love as your like last round pick?
Love and Reed. Yeah, my last two.
Do you remember what Love's project? Because I know Reed's projected ownership got to like 25% or something.
Yeah.
What was Love's?
Love's it was sub 5%.
Okay. And so I'm assuming this was your game plan.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, I was on Love and Reed. I would call that the skill part. The luck part was I did 5 specific lineups on Sunday morning where I was mixing and matching Love Reed. And it just so happened on that batch of 5 that I got Mason and Collins on both of those, just randomly. Like I wasn't saying like I want Love with Mason and Collins. I was just like doing my draft. Those were the best players. And so on both these teams, it ended up just accidentally being almost identical starts. I knew I was going to finish with Love and Reed, but I avoided Brock Bowers was my highest drafted tight end last week. He did nothing. This one, I happened to get Goddard 9.7 and Kelsey 12.4. So that also saved these. And so that's the luck portion of just like, I happened to get the Nico Mason non-Bowers teams with a Love Reed.
But like that your teams, even though you have 2 very similar teams, like a 5 and 25% on players, like that's pretty damn low. Like you're going to be fine combo wise, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. Like first place, didn't even have it. It had the Fields in Freiermuth.
Yeah.
Or no, sorry, that was third place. First place did have the Love in Reed, very similar. They were a 2v2 off of mine. They had Kamara and Kittle, but the exact same pieces otherwise.
You just needed Kelsey. Get a
this
catch.
Exact same one was a Brian Robinson, Kittle. That was the gross sweat. So like Kelsey at 12.4. Like I think I was, first was a stretch, but like one other big Kelsey catch and you can get up here to second place.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is where you want the flat payout structure right here, right? When you get
don't change anything. No, we're good.
Love that flat payout structure.
No, what you want to do is you want the Karain, right? You have the super top heavy BBM, 3, and then they make, I guess it was Fareed too, but then after that, Fareed wins 3 million. And then they smooth the hell out of it. And Fareed, yeah, that's perfect. I dine and dash my 3 million, and then you flatten it like a pancake.
Oh my God. Can you imagine? Yeah. That's talk about running hot.
Yes. But yeah,
that would be a good show one day if we could put it together, like the luckiest DFS / battle, BBM runs of all time. Like not just winning 3 million in a year or something, but like something occurred that's like a 0.0001% outcome of good luck.
That would do that kind of stuff because the Badge Bros, they've been doing an annual show, like the best players on the platform, by position, and it gets a lot of good engagement because people get offended if they're not on it and all this. Can you imagine the amount of feathers we could ruffle if we were like the luckiest fucking Sunrunners in all of DFS? Just like the top 20.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, I guess you could do both, just the sun raining and also just somebody who just got just so lucky, or of whatever, somebody getting hurt by a fan or something, just the stuff that just never happens.
Because there is like closer to, I don't know, an empirical way to do it where you would be balancing an overall, like you'd basically want a score, right? Where it like factored in total volume, whether that's entry fees or contests played. And then like some kind of like simmed out thing like Nelson does, like what is the expectation, relative to these amount of entries, like of where you would be finishing in those percentiles. And then how much above and below that expectation you actually are.
Yeah. Yes. Right.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like John Rahm during COVID. He was up, right? He was up by like 14 strokes going into Sunday, and like they pull him off of the first tee because he tested positive for COVID, which is hilarious looking back now. So you like still had to have Rahm, I think, in the winning lineup, but like all those Rahm lineups are just like now dead. And so like that would have been a huge lucky one that's never happened. This guy's making fun of Liam here. Tyler's making fun of Liam, but I would say like Dolphin Addict 16. Right?
Yeah, that's your version of Liam is Dolphin Addict 16.
Yeah, Dolphin Addict. I just picture him, Sunday. He's like, "What should I do this week? I'm gonna stack the fins. I'm stacking the fucking fins."
There is something to, I mean, this isn't exactly that same thing. So Mathology from the Deposit Kingdom Discord, he won a Dog Bowl ticket this week, and he's only been doing a couple entries in it. He's not like a super high volume underdog player, but he's just said, I'm going to play a field stack every single week in the Dog Bowl, where he's like, I think this is going to hit at some point. And he's like, I'm just going to do 2 to 3 entries, and it's always just going to be a field stack. And then this week, like it finally hit, and he punched a ticket. So just being like so stubborn, being like, I'm just going to play these fuckers until the 1 week, assuming they actually have the upside to do so, is pretty funny.
I think there's something to that, honestly, with like dupe sports too, is like if you're going to try to play a very non-dupey like portfolio, I think there's a lot of like risk management reasons where you just put in 20. Don't put in 150. Just put into your 20 lineups. So you're sure going to be like 1 or 2, 3 dupes, and because like either some crazy shit's going to happen and those lineups might have a chance, or you're probably going to lose all your money. Yeah. So like I don't hate that. Like if you're like you don't like doing like a wide exposure portfolio with a bunch of uniques or something like that. Like you just like having a nice tight core. Something like that. I think that is another way to just go, I'm going to do, 10 Purdy stacks and 5 field stacks and just that's it. I'm going to do 15 fucking lineups. If they go off, because like if you think about it, if you had 150 lineups, it'd probably only have 10 Purdy's in the whole 150. You don't want 60, 70% Purdy, right? That would be insane. But if you like him a lot and you just, I'll just do 10 of him and forget it.
Well, it's kind of how I feel differently, where it's like in best ball, I don't like, I understand some people like having the clean sweat of like, I have 40% of this guy, but like over the course of the entire season, that's a lot to put on a single stack or whatever, single player. But on any given week, just being really concentrated in like what your angle is for that week, like that is just a fun way to play things too. It makes the Sunday sweat pretty easy and enjoyable. That you mentioned the dupes thing. I meant to ask because I haven't been as in the showdown streets as much this year. Are dupes down in general just with all the sim products?
I don't think the sim products do a great job of recommending low dupes yet. I haven't really looked at it a ton. I think dupes are down a bit though. Yeah. Like I think there's a lot of people way more conscious of it than they were 2-3 years ago, no doubt.
I know the Solver just added to theirs because they obviously have they rolled out the sim product for showdown, and now they have added a column for projected dupes as well. But again, it's like I assume the whatever the sim ROI and stuff, like it's factoring in dupes already, but it was just now displaying it
right
for people as is, which I don't know. It's
you'd hope so. Yeah.
You would hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. Because if it's like, this is a great ROI with 150 dupes, it's like, is that in there? Yes, that's definitely something they would need to answer. But yeah, I would say for users, that would be, you'd need to look at that number to like, but I mean, there are some 60, X dupe lineups that are very good still. So
yeah,
you can put in good lineups that are going to get duped. You just don't want to be wrong, really. That's kind of like one of the keys.
Because you have to get paid off on those fairly frequently if you're running into 60 dupes or whatever on a lineup. Like it better be a pretty fucking good lineup.
Not that, and you don't want to like be wrong. Like you don't want to go in there thinking you're going to do 40 times and it's a 220.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the key.
True.
And being in that range is where you don't want those outliers. Too many of those outliers. Like it depends on how many you're entering, but like sometimes you just can't fucking help it. It's like, why is this lineup have so many dupes? It's not even that good. That shit happens, but also you just don't want to be super wrong, which is another benefit for trying to shoot for that 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 range or whatever. When you're wrong, it's still like 20, 30,
which whatever. You can live with.
You can kind of live with. It might be a shit lineup, but like if you get lucky, at least you're not splitting with 220 bros.
Have you been playing most of the showdown slates?
Yeah, showdown still seems pretty good to me. Like because I'm showing positive ROI. I mean, yeah, the Skolansky bucks are looking good, but not the actual bucks. So I don't know if I'm showing positive and someone else's sim who I'm not even using their stuff. Yeah, I think that's pretty good sign. It's tough to figure it out, like because everything's so biased based on the projections you're using.
Yes, for sure. Good stuff, Brian. Anything else going on over at the in-game syndicate this week?
Yeah, we got a bunch of videos this lined up. So we're doing, it's funny. We're talking about projections. We're going to do a joint projections video next week, next Wednesday with all 4 of us talking projections. I thought was a good topic.
Nice.
And then, we're doing a pro series. So today right after this, we're going to record with Shady. He's going to do a video with me and Dan. We're going to have some other pros come on and chop it up with us.
Nice.
What other video do we have?
Are those exclusive? Do you guys have a private podcast feed yet?
No, we don't really do podcasts because we just do that. We do like Adam's breakdowns and stuff he does.
Yeah.
And then whatever show we do with Davis.
Yeah. No, I was just saying as someone who listens to stuff on the go, like I didn't know if you guys had built out kind of how like ETR has their premium podcast feed for.
Oh, do they do that?
Yeah. That's how I listen. Like I don't watch the videos of any of the premium stuff. I'm audio only for all the premium. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think about that because a lot of it's so visual, for our stuff. But for these, that might actually work. And then and then we do a roundtable every month, which we do like an hour or so free, and then answer all the subs questions privately, which can take a couple hours after. But that's behind the paywall. But that would be another one that would be fine.
Yeah,
on an audio stream.
I mean, obviously there's a little bit of tech hurdles to get that set up, but like OWS has that too. They have their paywall thing where like once you have the subscription, you get the unique link to add it to your podcast app of choice. I'm just realizing I've been missing some of the in-game syndicate stuff that I would probably otherwise consume if I was able to take it on the go some.
Yeah, that's good advice. We should look into that. And then just Draft Caddy upgrades. So we got, like you showed, the ownership.
Yeah.
Spreads and totals. And I think the next on the list is combos.
Yeah.
So like what combos are you using? What combos is the field using? Just a page displaying that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that would be really cool to just be able to quit, like, especially for people who are doing a good chunk of volume, where it was like, you're like, holy cow, like I've somehow, my Breece Hall teams all have Brock Bowers on it. And I want to make sure I'm getting away for that. Just a sanity check on some of those ones at the top specifically, I think would be good.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think the field ones would be really helpful too. Like, okay, I got to stay away from Kelsey Mahomes stats this week. Everyone, whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, those, because there's the two, right? There's the two versions of it. There's the popular combos because of correlation purposes, right? Where it's like, Lamar teams are going to have Zay Flowers a bunch or whatever. But then there's the accidental ones that are driven by just ADP, where it's like, hey, pick 1 is going next to pick 12 and pick 13. And so those combos are represented way more frequently than they probably deserve to be just because they're correlated by ADP. And so that would be cool to flag some of those where you're like, wait, why are these two guys on so many lineups together?
Right. I don't know how you would display that while you're drafting. You'd have to like go to the page, I suppose.
Yeah.
Memorize it. But either way,
it would be like, say you go to the page, right? And it was kind of like, remember when we were pulling it up on PDs, like BBDMB, like looking at the most frequent stacks, and we're just kind of scrolling. We're like teammates. Oh, wow. Devontae Smith with CeeDee Lamb. Like, well, how did this one end up here? Like, I think it would be cool. Maybe even if you just like highlighted too, like the non-teammate correlation ones, because people will expect the pairings with teammates, but not so outside of that.
That's what I was thinking. Either one, or just what's the highest.
Yeah.
Just,
that would be cool to see for sure. I definitely enjoy it when I full endorsement here, when I was drafting my my Jordan Love teams on Sunday, I was all desktop. I'm almost exclusive. I would say I'm like 90% desktop for my drafting. If like during the week I'm just trying to like get a feel for it, I'll hop in a couple on my phone if I have my ranks uploaded. But I really like being able to do drafts at desktop. It's easier to multi-table and all of that when you have the caddy overlay.
Yeah, that I definitely can't do it. Well, I could do it. It's probably the dog shit teams without a little help. I need those tiebreakers too. It makes it so easy. It's like, okay, this guy's 40% owned, this guy's 70% owned. Duh. 40% owned guy. They're probably about the same until Dan gets his tool going. I don't know if you watch our shows, but he keeps upgrading his project. So I want that to help me for sure.
I'm looking forward to seeing what that was. What tripped me up last week is I'd done my like Reed and Love lineups, and then I did a bunch of Taysom Hill lineups, who ended up being one of the highest scoring tight ends on the slate. But I was like, I didn't have the balls to do Jordan Love, Jaden Reed, and Taysom Hill lineups. Like I was doing the Jordan Love Reed with better tight ends, and then doing some like chalkier quarterbacks with Taysom Hill. And I'm like, I would have shipped everything if I would have landed on the Taysom Hill.
That's a lot though. That is a lot. Right. Because I'm assuming Taysom was what? 15?
Like tight end 11 or 12. Yeah. He moved up a little bit, but
what percentage own is that then? That's gotta be pretty low.
He was sub 20%. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was saying, like 15% or something. Yeah, so you're looking at like 15 with him, 25 or something with Reed, and then 5%, sub 5% for this. But I think that's more viable than I don't know. We have to like run the numbers, but my gut tells me that's more viable than people think. And also, like when I hear Davis talk, like he doesn't like double stacks. A lot of people seem like they don't like double stacks that much. I think some of those are more viable too. And I think 3 wideouts can sometimes be okay too.
And again, just anecdotally, like, so scrolling through like all the top lineups from last week, and I'm doing it right now, and I'm down to like the 15th lineup, and I don't see a single Bowers, even though he outscored Kittle, outscored Kelsey, outscored Goddard. I think as people scroll down, myself included, it's a little easier to be like, oh, I'm going to do this stack. I'm going to do, there's something about that where it's like the scrolling way down at tight end for some reason, I think just feels a little weirder there than getting a stack. So my thought would be, you'll see, scroll down stacks used more than like just scroll down one-offs, basically.
Yeah. I bet you're right. And it makes no sense. It's funny, like Kraft. So like they probably would never pick Kraft, and now this week he's going whatever we just showed.
Tight end 5, yeah.
50% or whatever he's getting picked. And so like clearly that would let you, if you're taking Kraft now this frequently, you probably can take, Njoku or whoever's going, in the 5, 6, 7, 8% range. From our like analysis with Dan's stuff, it does seem like doing a tier strategy actually in best ball is really good, more so than DFS. So like, and I think the ownership kind of like shows that, that like guys are catching on and putting guys more into tiers, right? So, as opposed to like a smoother distribution of ownership, if that makes any sense. Because then what you should do is then kind of iterate randomly between these tiers, assuming they develop. I know you still want to scroll down, but like in that second tier where you're still going to take these players, and let's say there's 3 or 4 of them all at 60% owned. You could probably just pick any of them and be okay.
Right. Yeah. And that's when you get into kind of just like randomizing within that tier as well.
Yeah. I think that's because it definitely works like that in the uncorrelated sports like PGA or NBA.
Yeah.
I know there is some correlations there, but for the most, not like NFL or MLB or something like that.
Yeah. All right, dude, I am going to go run. We're going to get our picks ready for the Shipcast tonight. We got Falcons and Bucks on tap, so we'll be live at 8:15 for that on Chip Chasing. Last week we hit our core, so we'll see if we can keep the hot picks going. Check out In-Game Syndicate, the draftcaddy.com if you guys want to get access to the overlay for your BR drafts that we were just talking about. Anything else, Brian?
No, I think that wraps up.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Keep the show topic ideas coming in the Deposit Kingdom Discord. We got that Lulz channel. You can tag us on Twitter. Always helpful to see what you guys would like us to chat it up about. Otherwise, we're just going to talk about 9-hole golf courses for chunks of shows and Christian rock music. We are here every Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you guys next time on Lulz.